Okay, um, hey everybody, let's go through the homework from last night and try to do this in less than 15 minutes. So let's go quick. Alright, remember all these questions were stuff we did in class, so if it looks familiar, it's because it is. So first question says we spend approximately a third of our life sleeping. That hasn't changed. We're still looking at 1/3. How many years that would be for someone who is now 35 years old? So remember we talked about how this is just a proportion, or we can set it up as proportion, comparing time we spend sleeping compared to our total time spent alive. Alive. Okay, so if it's 1/3, we say we spend one part of our life alive, or the thirds represents our whole life, so that gives us our 1/3 there. Okay, 35 years is time alive, and we're looking for time spent asleep. Once you have the proportion, we can cross multiply. So 1 times 35 is just 35. We divide that by the number we didn't just multiply, which would be 3. And then it's just a matter of dividing 35 by 3. So 3 goes into 3 once. Subtract, bring down the 5. So 3 goes into 5 one time as well. 3, 2. We're out of numbers, so remember we had a decimal, and a 0. Bring that down. 3 goes into 20 6 times. 3 times 6, 18. Subtract, we get 2. We see this is going to repeat. So we have 11.6 years repeating. Since it's asking us for approximately, we can say that is going to be 12 years. And that's it. Okay. Alright. How about number 2? This one took us a while. So now we've got Bill. Come on. Click, 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 click. It doesn't want to. Let me change that. So imagine there's a space there. Bill's got $30.25 to spend. STAAR is still charging $4.95 and 8% tax. So the first thing we need to know is how much is the tax going to be? Well, we know if we have a percent, we can probably figure this out using another proportion. This time, we're going to look at our tax compared to our total. Remember, we do talk about percents. We always have this total percent as 100. Up here, our tax rate, 8.125. And that number you're going to have to get used to, because anytime they talk about tax, they're going to give you that number because that's the actual tax rate in Texas. So now we can put in the cost for the video, so we don't have to do all the decimals. Let's say that is $5, and we want to know what that tax is. So now we can cross multiply. If you remember from earlier, we kind of worked this one out. It's 8.125. Got like 2 decimals here. 8.125 times 5. Working that out would give us 2, 6, 40. We have 3 decimal places up top, so we need 1, 2, 3 decimal places in the answer. Once we have that, we take that number, we divide it by 100. So we have 40.625 divided by 100. And we didn't talk about this in class, but I wanted to mention it because some people don't want to go through the trouble of having to divide all this, is that we can move our decimal point to make this easier for us. We know that if we can divide a number by just 1, the number won't change. Well, if you have 100, you can think, how can I move this decimal so that the number will change to 1? Well, if we move it, uh-oh. Freaking out on me here. My color scheme has been changed. Okay, that was weird. So if we move the decimal 1, 2 places to the left, we end up dividing by 1. Well, if we do that on the outside, we do it on the inside as well. So we can move this 1, 2 places, and now we can say, get rid of the old decimals. We can say, what is 0.40625 divided by 1? Well, that number's not going to change. It's just going to be 0.40625. But now, since this is money, because we're talking about the tax, we don't need all these decimal places. Money only goes to this second decimal place. So we can round looking at this number next to it. If it's 5 or more, this would get rounded up. So 40 would become 41. So we can say we have a tax of 41 cents. Okay. Now we can add that to the cost of the video, which was $4.95. And again, hopefully this will look real familiar because it's the same price we had from the example in class. This is just going to be $5.36. So that's total with tax. Was a weird thing there. All right, so 536, and now we can answer the actual question we can get back to is how many videos can Phil rent? So he's got 32 bucks, and each video costs 536. So to find the number of videos he can get, we would have to say, well, how many times can 536 go into 3225? So it's a question of dividing. So we say 32.25 divided by 536. And there's our decimal. Remember, we can move our decimal because we don't want any decimals on the outside. So if we move it 2 places, we do the same thing on the inside. And now we just have to figure out how many times can 536 go into 3225. So let's try 5 times. Let's see what 536 times 5 is. And now we can guess any number. I just think 5 looks like it might work. So 0, 3, that's 18, and 26. Now maybe we can get one more. Let's try 536 times 6. So that's 6, 3, 21. So that'll give us $32 or 3,216, which is just barely underneath that. So we're going to end up, that actually comes up to the exact same answer as what we got in class. So that's cool. So we can get 6 videos, just like earlier. Oh, that was bad. You get the idea. 6 videos. That's the answer. I think I'm falling behind. How are we on? I only have 6 minutes to do 3 questions. Okay, let's go quicker. All right, so our kitchen floor question. We want to put down some tiles. Our kitchen's 20 by 14. Tiles are 18 by 18 inches. So again, we need to remember here are feet, here are inches. We cannot have 2 different size measures. So we got to turn either feet to inches or inches to feet. I don't really want to work with really big numbers, so I'm going to turn these inches into feet. So 18 inches. So I know 12 inches is 1 foot. And then that leaves us 6 inches left over. My spelling's really bad. Or not my spelling, just my handwriting. So 6 inches, what part of a foot is 6 inches? So if we say that's 6 out of 12, well, that's just half a foot. So we have half a foot, or we can say that's 0.5 feet. And then we can put them together. So 1 foot plus 0.5 feet means that 18 inches, and hopefully some of you recognize this before we had to do this, that this is 1.5 feet. Okay, now we can draw our picture. We can say here's her floor, and that is 20 by 14. Here is the tile, and it is 1.5 by 1.5. And just like we said in class, we're going to have to find the area of the whole shape. So we can do 20 times 14. And that's going to give us 80 and 200, or 280. So the area of the whole floor is 280. We can find the area of the little tile, 1.5 times 1.5. That's 225 with a couple decimal places. And now we can take these two numbers, and to figure out how many little tiles fit, we just divide. So we say, what is 280 divided by 2.25? Again, we don't want to mess with decimals, so we move this in 2 places. There's no decimal here, so we put it at the end, and we go 1, 2 places. So now I say, how many times is 225 going to 28,000? Well, 225 would go into 280 once. There's 225. We subtract here. It's going to be 7, 10. So that's 5, 55. 225 into 550. That'll go twice. And that's 450. Subtract that, we get 100, bring down to 0, and 225 will go into 1,000, and that is 4 times, because that is 900. Okay, this will actually keep repeating, so it's going to be 124 point something, but since we can't have part of a tile, we'd need more than that. We would have to round that up and say it's going to be about 125 tiles. I can't draw boxes. Alright, I don't think I'm going to make it. Let's try. So number 4, rectangle toolbox has a length of 2 2/3 feet, a width of 10 inches, and a height of 7 3/8 inches. What is the volume of that? So just like we did today, we say volume is area of the base times the height. Since we do have a rectangle here, we're looking at length times width times the height. And then we just have to figure out what each of these things is. So 2 2/3 feet, well, 2 feet's 24 inches. 2/3 of a foot is something over 12. Oops. So if we do times 4, we get 8. So we can say 24 plus 8 inches is 32. Okay. We can take the width, that's given, that's 10, and a height of 7 3/8. So remember, we can, I need a color. I don't like any of these colors. That's these right. So 7 3/8. So 7 equals 7. equals, and then 3/8, we can divide that out if we don't know it already. Using T-bow, and that is going to give us 0.375. So we have 32 times 10 times 7.375. Okay. Multiply this out. 32 times 10 is 320 times 7.375, and you might not like me for it, but I'm going to do it anyway. 320 times 7.375 equals 2360. Oops. And we're done. And if you're saying, oh, Ellis, that's not fair, how come you can use a calculator? Well, if you're at home, you can use a calculator too. Okay, if you can do all this work, I'm okay with you multiplying with a calculator at home. Don't ask me in class. Okay, number 5, last one. And we have no minutes left. That's okay. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that ring. So Joe's blanket, 5 1/4 feet wide. I'll practice drawing blankets. 5 1/4, that's 5. That's in the box. 5.25 by 3 1/2 or 3.5. We have a second, more bigger blanket. I think the girlfriend's cat is like freaking out at the timer. Just wandering around, lost. Where am I? I'm lost. Width of 8 1/2, so 8.5. We do not know this length. We call it X. We can give these clever names. We can call this baby. We can call this mama. And it's Big Mama. All right. Since we are talking about similar shapes, we can make a proportion out of this. We can fill in our numbers. We pick one side from our baby shape. We can say 5.25. We compare that to this corresponding side on our bigger shape. So 5.25 goes with 8.5. Okay, that's equal to, we pick a second side from the small shape. Should be 3.5. And that corresponds to X. So there's our proportion. We can cross multiply this. Where's 8.5 divided per, times 8.5 times 3.5, which equals 29.75. And we can divide that by 5.25. Again, we move the decimal over. And maybe I won't cheat on this. So let's see, how many times can 525, it can't go into 2, it can't go into 29, it can't go into 297, but I think it can go into 2,900, and I would say 4 times. And I can work this out over here. 525 times 4 is 0, 2, 0, say plus 2 is 10, bring 1, this is 21. That's not enough. Whoops. My math's not so good. So I can probably get one more in. So let's try 525 times 5. Well, that'll give us 5, 2, 12, 26. All right, that works. So that's going to be 5, 2, 6, 2, 5. It subtracts 0, 5, so 350. I can add a decimal. And let's see, how many times can 525 go into 3,500? Well, it's got to be more than 5. Let's try 6. Let me put in some time signs here, so nobody gets confused. So here's 30, 15, 31, 51. So we have 5.6, and that's close enough for me. So it's about 5.6. I can check my answer. I can say, well, 5.25 is a little bit bigger than 3.5, and 8.5 is a little bit bigger than 5.6. So this answer seems to make sense. Hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. And yeah, hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. That'd be embarrassing. All right. Hope we got something out of this.